Mayor Parker calls the meeting to order. We ask that you please silence all electronic devices. For those of you who have requested to speak, there are two podiums in the chamber. The podium in the back is for individuals with mobility concerns. We ask all others to step forward to the podium, front podium. Each podium has a countdown clock located to the speaker's right that will indicate how much time is remaining. A bell will sound when you have 30 seconds left. Before you begin your comments, please state your name and thank you.
Councilmember Beck or Councilmember Larsdorf, I do need one of you to be on camera. Y'all can flip a coin. I know that Elizabeth, you may be driving. Sorry, thank you. We'll maybe switch back and forth. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Are we good to call the meeting to order, Jeanette? Sorry, I got distracted there. Okay, thank you very much for attending your Fort Worth City Council Public Comment Meeting. Today is September 10th, and we will commence with our invocation.
Tonight's invocation will be by Councilmember Nettles. Please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the pledges of allegiance.
All right, let us pray. Father, we come to you. Before we ask you for anything, we want to tell you thank you for everything. Thank you for life, liberty, and the continued pursuit of happiness. Father, we ask you that you continue to bless all of our residents of the city of Fort Worth. Bless the mayor, the Fort Worth City Council, our Fort Worth PD, Fort Worth Fire, and all of our constituents. We ask you to keep us safe under your guidance. Now, Father, we ask you to bless this meeting as we gather to meet and hear concerns of our community. Bless all those that participate. This is our prayer. This is our plea. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Council, our first action will be consideration and approval of the minutes from the August 13th, August 20th, and August 27th council meetings.
Got a motion and a second, council. Any other discussion? If not, please vote. I don't have a vote screen, sorry, gentlemen. So you may have to do this with me. Aha, there we go. Charlie's a yes. Councilmember Rebecca's a yes. Jeanette's a yes. Thank you. Got one absent there. You can mark him. Thank you. Motion carries.
Our next item, Mayor, will be the public hearing 24-4544.
Thank you, and I
With
believe,
staff report by Christiane Simmons.
thank you.
Good evening.
There it is.
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Christiane Simmons, Chief Transformation Officer. I'm here with you to present an overview of the recommended budget for fiscal year 25 in conjunction with the public hearing. A public hearing on the recommended budget is required by Local Government Code Chapter 102, Section 6, and by our City Charter, Chapter 10, Section 2, prior to Council adopting a budget. The recommended operating budget for fiscal year 25 is $2.79 billion. This table provides context as to the changes between the current year's adopted budget and the fiscal year 25 recommended budget. Of the $2.79 billion budget, the general fund makes up 38% of the total at just over $1 billion. Enterprise funds, of which water and wastewater is the largest portion, make up almost 29% of the total at $795 million. The special revenue funds, which include the Crime Control and Prevention District and the Environmental Protection Fund and others, make up approximately 11% of the total at just under over $300 million. And then debt service, internal service, and fiduciary funds make up the remaining 22% of the total operating budget. The budget's based on the council's strategic priorities: economic development, community investment, community safety, infrastructure, and responsible growth. And in this budget, we see a number of initiatives that aim to meet these strategic priorities. The fiscal year 25 budget includes investments in public safety through additional officers, police and fire contractual obligations, startup costs for the absorption of emergency medical services, and also some infrastructure maintenance investments, including an additional $10 million for street maintenance, the continuation of the neighborhood improvement program, and a high-impact pilot program to reduce homelessness. And finally, opening of the Northwest Community Center and the reopening of Meadowbrook Golf Course. So there's some of the highlights of the fiscal year 25 budget. The budget also includes no change to the current tax rate. So the budget's built upon a 67.25% tax rate. And this is the way that tax rate breaks down. So the biggest funding source for the annual operating budget is the property tax revenue. The flat tax rate of 0.6725 cents keeps the debt service rate flat at 1.1475, and then increases the PAYGO budget or tax rate by a quarter cent. And that whole quarter cent from 7 cents to 7.25 cents goes to additional street maintenance in fiscal year 25. In addition to the operating budget, the city adopts a capital improvement plan, and this plan spans 5 years and gets revised each year for a rolling 5-year period. The total capital plan for fiscal year 25 is just over $810 million, allocated to the different projects types. So water, wastewater. In the general category, you see things like parks. We have transportation and public works, stormwater, and other categories. So when we combine the operating and capital budgets, the total recommended budget for fiscal year 25 is just under $3.6 billion, which is up from $3.2 billion in the current year. The city listens to the community in a variety of ways through the budget process and throughout the year, through the community survey, various engagement opportunities, and meetings. As of tonight, we've had 10 public meetings in the various districts, as well as a virtual meeting. We actually have 2 more meetings coming up this weekend. Just want to say thank you to all who participated in those meetings and made them productive, hopefully a useful tool for budget communications. I'd like to encourage anyone also who's interested to go to the city website and find the budget page. It's linked there on the homepage. There are a lot of resources there. So after the public hearing on the budget concludes tonight, the next step in the budget adoption process will occur at 5 p.m. on September 17th. In a special called meeting, the council will be presented with budget and tax ordinances to consider and hold a public hearing on the tax rate. That concludes our presentation. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Christiane. Council, any questions? I believe that we can take action and close the public hearing if there are none.
Mayor, we have speakers.
Oh, that's right. My bad. Sorry. Our first speaker, thank you, Christiane. You did an excellent job. Adrian Smith will be followed by Jane Hull.
Adrian Smith, I am one with the people. As it relates to the proposed 2025 budget proposal, I'm sure you all received in your correspondence that I was against it, but I'm not against the budget going forward. However, I am against this thought process of not allowing the 2 community neighborhood improvements to continue forward. I know you all had this discussion back in work session that it might be reduced to 1 possibly because of the tax rate getting changed, but I feel that there should be no reasons that these neighborhoods should not be able to continue forward as it relates to their improvements. And I said it because the money is already there. And it seems to me you all had no problems getting things done for what I deem as pet projects, things that I feel could have waited, but we know that there are special interest groups within this city and families that you all are beholden to, whom have seem like a greater stake or say than the collective will of the community. So I say that to say this, and I quote, we are at a point where I won't say we are challenged, but we are challenged in our ability to spend that money at a faster pace, and that is Mr. David Cook, August 27, 2024, at the work session. So, as it relates to these particular neighborhoods, Stop 6 is at 100% completed. Ash Crescent is at 64% completed. The Northside community is 100% completed. Rose is at 97% completed. Como is 91% completed. Las Vegas Trail Rise is at 76%. I'm hoping that, Mr. Crane, we can get that to 100%. It is very much needed in the LVT area. The historic Marine Creek is at 19%, Seminary at 6%, and Worth Heights at 5%. Now that is a disgrace. We need to ensure that Seminary, Worth Heights are prioritized. We shouldn't reduce it to 1. It should be 2. The money is there. Get it done. It's you all's obligation to do so. The money is there. We're watching.
Our next speaker is Jane Hull. Is Jane here? No? Council, that's the last of our speakers on this item. I think there was a motion to close the public hearing. Thank you. Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion, council? Thank you. Please vote. Councilmember Nettles, I think, was the second, if you can click on that. There we go. Thank you.
Next will be public comments, 24-4535. Mayor?
Thank you, Jeanette. Our first public presentation is going to be Mr. Pete Guerin, followed by Bob Willoughby.
Mayor, members of the council, thank you for giving me this opportunity to visit with you tonight. My name is Pete Guerin. I live in Council District 7. And I've come for you tonight with just a simple message. Thank you. What all of you did, all 11 of you did on August 27th, the letter that you signed standing up for our kids, has sent a signal throughout this community, raised awareness about the crisis of literacy. My colleague Brent Beasley has referred to it as a moral and a civic crisis. I'll say it's a city crisis. Touches everything important to us. And I want to commend all of you for standing up for our kids and for taking a public stand and raising awareness throughout our city of the importance of this issue. I've never seen buzz come out of nowhere like it has on this issue. Everywhere you go, people are talking about it, people are asking about it. You've raised awareness of this critically important issue. Just this last week, I was having breakfast with a principal of one of the large high schools in Fort Worth. The person who hosted the breakfast said, Principal, what's your biggest challenge at your high school? Without hesitation, he said, literacy. Literacy. Kids come to my high school, they can't read. And we know what happens to kids who can't read, what kind of future they have. We know what it means for our workforce. And we also sadly know what it means to our crime rate and what happens to so many of those kids. So thank you, every one of you, for standing up for our kids. The work has just begun, but y'all have gotten this community to work on this most important issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pete. Our next speaker is Mr. Bob Willoughby, followed by George Childs.
Go ahead and play the video. It's mine from last time. Now, this man had it right here. And this is the way we are today. There's no spiritual light because God's been taken out of our schools. You know, there's no moral values because our mayor takes away free speech and doesn't answer questions. You know, this is it. No patriotism because even people in our military vote against free speech. October is coming on the schedule again, October. Free speech in this hall is coming up again on the agenda. You tell these people to vote no, we get back our right to speak here like other cities. Even Mr. Baylock, before he got elected, I asked him in a meeting, would you support it? Would you support it? He said yes. And when he got here, he voted no. You know? Well, it doesn't really matter. Who's mayor or who's council member does not matter. If we don't hold them accountable ourselves. Fort Worth's a home rule city. I like home rule better than I do general law. But it requires the people to do their job and hold these people accountable when they do wrong instead of turning a blind eye. And when people come down here and thank this mayor for doing a wonderful job, they don't know what's going on. They rob the people of our rights. And people won't say anything about her. I'm surprised how many people don't speak up about this woman taking away free speech at our council in Fort Worth. How can that be good for the citizens? You know what? I don't see a clock kicking here either. It's just got 000 across there. But luckily the video's 3 minutes, so we'll know. I hear the sound went off. Everything stopped all of a sudden. What happened?
The video ended.
What happened?
The video ended.
It couldn't have ended. That ain't all of it.
Okay.
That was not all of it. There was a train. There was you on there.
I'm sure there, I'm very sorry I missed it. I really am.
You know what? They cut it short. Now they honored it, okay? That's right. I say, what time do I have? Has it been 3 minutes? This says 0.
48 seconds.
How much time I got?
45 seconds.
44, 45. This clock ain't working. That's one thing. It's
Thank
not
you for
good.
making us
Okay, but the
that
44 seconds I got left. Mr. Crane, many a times you spoke out up here that I got the right to speak. But when you were, hey, Mr. Crane, you're interrupting me. Please be quiet.
Bob, just
Have some respect. Please be quiet. Okay, now when you interrupted us, see, he's interrupting now. He doesn't say what he's saying. When I ask you to describe what the public presentation is that you voted to remove from the schedule, you don't answer. What was the public presentation? It was free speech. Mr. Crane, you are a coward of a man. Do this, Mr. Crane. Come down here and answer this, okay? Yeah.
time has
You know, this is up there
expired.
for
Thank
last
you,
time. I can
Bob.
use it.
Our next speaker is George Childs, followed by Chris Wood.
My name is George Vernon Childs. I live in Fort Worth. At the latest PC, I recounted how the election of Carrie Moon as a District 4 council member was heralded as a victory for the FWPOA in the fourth book co-authored by Ronald G. DeLord, written for police union leaders. I also gave reasons why I think what is commonly termed citizen review or civilian review would be more accurately termed customer review because everyone is a customer of government, like it or not. Whatever the designation, how union leaders should view that process is found at page 14 of the first of the four books I mentioned. Quote, the community do-gooders start screaming for civilian review every time one of the bad guys gets a torn thumbnail during a resisting arrest encounter, unquote. This adroitly sums up the POA's position on this subject, which is to say it's far too accurate for anyone who recognizes strutting bully speak when they witness it. Ergo, Carrie Moon in the Star-Telegram Meet the Candidate article on April 22nd, 2019, quote, in practice, FW currently has the existing framework in the truest form for a civilian oversight committee in 9 elected council members and a mayor who should be responsible to make the tough decisions to ensure that police protocol is fair and non-discriminatory, unquote. Elected officials, the POA can't influence most of its membership to vote anyway because most of them don't live in Fort Worth. It instead votes by investment in the form of signs and money. What Kerry Moon proposed would actually mean leaving questions of police misconduct to a city council, quite possibly having a majority of his fellow recipients of signs and money. Until the city charter is amended, or an authorizing statute is passed, or as in New Orleans, both, any board or commission would only be advisory. But it might get issues into the record that the signs and money faction would find awkward to answer. In closing, the article I referred to mentions, quote, forging strong relationships with our city's major stakeholders, unquote. So I wondered if the socioeconomic status of those stakeholders was closer to that of those who jetted off to Aspen with the city manager, or that of Ms. Jefferson and Ms. Craig. How long did I wonder? Can you spell nanosecond?
Our next speaker is Chris Wood, followed by Maria Lena Tillman.
Okay, I have pictures. Okay. One at a time, or are they all going to show at one? We can do all at one. Okay, so I signed up to speak on this issue on Friday morning. So the first picture off to the far left, that's a Trinity Metro bus stop sign. And when you're approaching a bus stop from a distance, it's very helpful to see exactly where you need to go to make it as the bus is coming, or however long you have to wait for the bus. So the middle is a close-up of the bus stop sign. It shows what buses come, which is very helpful to make sure you're going to be there for the right bus. It also has a stop ID, which is very helpful in case you have any issues. To the far right is the bus stop at 7th and Staten, and there is no bus stop sign. Last week, I was walking towards this bus stop in the late, hot afternoon. An elderly gentleman approached me. He was quite agitated. He said, the bus did not stop for me. Where exactly is the bus stop? He told me he had an appointment for a COVID vaccination. He was quite worried that he would now miss his appointment. I told him there is no sign for this bus stop, but I would accompany him to where the bus usually stops, and I will stay with him until he gets on the bus. So I started asking around, why is there no bus stop sign at 7th and Staten? This stop is right next to the beautiful Trinity Park, and there's restaurants and businesses nearby. I was told there is no bus stop sign to keep the undesirables away. So what makes a person undesirable? Is it because we do not drive nice cars? We don't wear fancy clothes? We are hidden away because we are different, but maybe others should be hidden away because they are all the same. Today, Felicia Bolin from Public Works reached out to me, and she told me that she would get with Trinity Metro regarding this issue. So thank you for helping fight for the undesirables.
Our next speaker is Maria Lena Tillman, followed by Caroline James.
Mayor, we have not been able to reach her.
Okay, thank you. Caroline James, followed by Gary Cumby.
Good evening, Mayor Parker and council members. My name is Caroline James. My husband, our 3 boys, and I live in the West Cliff neighborhood of Fort Worth. About a month ago, something extraordinary happened here. A group of passionate moms, dads, grandparents, teachers, administrators, civic leaders, and religious leaders got together and decided enough was enough. You just never know when something ordinary will turn into something extraordinary. When coffee with a friend will prompt a mom into start advocating for kids who are dyslexic like her son. Kids who don't have a parent able to fight for them, who know how to fight for them. About a month ago, we gathered here unsure of what might happen, what could happen, and you listened while we told you about a crisis. Literacy is our greatest civil right. If you can't read, you can't access anything in our society. We told you that 57% of our city's kids couldn't read. When I saw my son, Andrew, was on a path of no access, I jumped into action on his behalf. When you heard that 57% of students in this city were on a path of no access, you jumped into action on their behalf. It's no small thing that you did. You spoke up for the 57% of kids who were on a path of no access. When Andrew received the appropriate interventions, he walked taller. He held his head higher. He's writing and reading confidently. He has access to the world around him. It's no small thing that you did. You are changing the trajectories of thousands of students. You are changing the trajectory of our city. Imagine students in Fort Worth walking taller, more confidently, able to read, able to access the world around them. People are talking about your extraordinary actions. Let's keep their attention on our students, on the great future of this city. Thank you for being extraordinary.
Our next speaker is Gary Cumby, followed by Rodney Williams.
Mayor and council members, thank you for allowing me this couple of minutes to speak to you. I am Gary Cumby, and I live in Council District 5. I want to speak about something that I believe is very important to our community, and I hope you agree. That something is our Central Park, Gateway Park. I call it our Central Park not only because of its location, but also because of its size. At nearly 800 acres, it's nearly the size of New York's Central Park. But that's where the comparisons stop. New York's Central Park is a huge magnet for local activities and an attraction for tourists. Gateway Park does attract locals and tourists for its limited array of activities, but it's nowhere near the attraction it could be. The good news is you have approved a master plan which could make it the magnet it ought to be, with more sports activities and play areas and performance venues and walking paths and much, much more. And I thank and I commend you for approving that plan. But as we all know, a plan is just a plan unless it leads to action. Sadly, the decades-long history of Gateway Park has been filled with too many plans and not enough action. I'm hoping this time will be different, that your plan will lead to action and bring our community the Central Park it deserves. The estimated cost of implementing the plan is $140 million in current dollars. I've heard the staff may propose $20 million for Gateway in the next bond package. And that's certainly a significant amount. But consider that amount would cover a 4-year period, and that if the city council and the community approve another $20 million in 4 years, and another $20 million 4 years later, and on, if all those things happened, it would take 7 bond elections and 28 years to complete the plan. I'd be 104 years old. And all that assumes that there will be no inflation over the next 28 years. I think we all know the odds of that. So I encourage the council to be bold when considering the Gateway Park for the bond package. Don't stop at 20 million or even 30 or 40. Put $50 million in the bond package and take a large bite out of the total plan in current dollars. Give the voters a chance to say yes to their Central Park. Gateway Park and your master plan for it have a lot of potential. But as that great philosopher Darrell Royal once said, potential means you ain't done it yet. With apologies to all my English teachers, when it comes to Gateway Park, our Central Park, it's high time we done it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Our next speaker is Rodney Williams, followed by Peyton Jackson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I saw the gentleman put his readers on, and I got to do the same thing. I just want to acknowledge Officer Darren Burks of the Dallas Police Department. He was gunned down in the line of duty, and He was a school teacher for 17 years, and then he became a member of law enforcement. And man, my heart just goes out to him. And I know it's not popular to, thank law enforcement like I did the last time I was here, and I took a little bit of heat from that, but we have to have our law enforcement. And we have to learn how to get along. Because if we can't get along with one another, if we can't coexist, then it's gonna continue to be, problems. So Officer Darren Burke's badge number was 12543. And I basically just wanted to come up here and shout him out. Positive vibes from the Positive Postman.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Peyton Jackson.
Hi, Council. So I am actually yielding my speech for a couple of reasons. Number one, the person that I'm quoting is not here to do their job. That and Tony and Chris from Code Compliance have been in communication with me pretty much all day, and they actually resolved our problem. But they are working on something called the tool sharing program, which is done in the city of Arlington. And I would love all of your support on that. Because as of right now, where I'm standing, Code Compliance comes off a bit predatory. But I will take the time to apologize for my past actions. Say hey. Hey. Okay. Councilman Flores, I ran into you on the north side about a year ago while I was out jogging. I apologized then, but I'm woman enough to apologize here. I once called you a sellout because you didn't vote how I thought you should have on a singular issue, and that wasn't right of me. So from the bottom of my heart, I apologize. Councilman Crane. I called you out for gentrification with no hard facts, just because I knew that you were in the real estate industry. I apologize for that. I was wrong. Mayor Parker. For those who don't know, I already apologized, but back then it was more so, oh, I didn't have to do that. But knowing all of what I know now, I know that I shouldn't have done that. So from the bottom and the top of my heart, I apologize for any ill will that I caused your administration, you, your family, or your mental. I apologize. But I will be back to criticize you guys probably on the 24th. Shout out to Tony and Chris and all of what they are doing to reform our code compliance.
Thank you.
You guys have a great night. Come on, baby.
Our next speaker is J.D. Jimerson, followed by Robert Rogers.
Good afternoon. My name is J.D. Jimerson. I reside on the north side of Fort Worth in in District 2. I'm here again to address the issue of loud noise and disturbances that happened at the 1616 Northwest 35th, excuse me. Each time here previously, I've been directed to talk with the police department or someone else, and I don't mind being redirected. But today I got some good information from my councilman, and I talked to a law enforcement officer that's there in the area. But this has been going on for 3 years. 3 years is too much and too long to be addressing an ordinance that's in place that states noises should not be tolerated or should not be forced upon people. I live about, I think, 1,000 feet, 1,000 yards from the arena where the noise comes at 1616 Northwest 35th. 1616 Northwest 35th, which is adjacent to a nursing home. My concerns are not just myself. I'm concerned about the people in the area that have been given information by law enforcement officers that tell them that it's legal. So as I just stated before, for me to tell them that that's not correct does not mean very much, because they're getting information from law enforcement that's not correct. So I'm here again to say, and I'm going to meet and talk some more tomorrow or during the week, we should not have to tolerate loud noises, bullhorns, and the hollering and all the other music that goes along to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, any morning of the week. And I don't know who has control, who writes the tickets. There have not been any tickets issued, no fines issued, and no permits issued. And you can tell me again that, okay, it's happening at a busy time, so police officers are not available. Police officers work that venue, which they're on their own time then. So there's verification that it's going on. And the calls that come in and the neighbors that I talk with should be made aware, and the city should be moving forward to make a change. I should not have to stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning because somebody else wants to come to my neighborhood and party. I thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Robert Rogers, followed by Carla Brown.
Good evening. I'm Robert Rogers. This will be the shortest, most joyful public comment I will probably make in my life. I cannot say how deeply I appreciate your willingness, all of you, to engage on the education issue in this town. It will have a profound impact on our city. Mayor Parker, to stand up and do what you did was extraordinary. I just thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Carla Brown, followed by Adrian Smith.
Hi. My comment is similar. I just wanted to thank y'all too. I think it's incredible. Last time was the first time I had come and spoken or come to one of these meetings, and to get to be a part of seeing movement in education, and it's truly remarkable. So I thank you. I do want to tell a tiny little story. When I was sitting, after I spoke about dyslexia, my dyslexia last time, and about what it was like growing up and being in school, and how really little I understood. And when I was sitting on the front row, a young, 14-year-old tapped me on the shoulder and asked me something, and I couldn't understand what he said. And so I said, let me follow you out to the lobby, because someone else was speaking up here. And I followed him out to the lobby, and he looked at me and he said, can you teach me how to read? And then his mom and little brother came around, and his mom said, for the first time in my son's life, he didn't feel alone. He knew that there were other people like him. And so what I have to say is, dyslexic people, we do have special needs. They are there, they're real. But we are intelligent, and our curriculum can't be watered down because we are smart, but we just learn differently. And we're gonna teach this little boy how to read. He's gonna get it, and it's gonna be a great success story. But I wanna thank you all for opening this up, to see people come down here and tell you all things, and y'all to listen. It's just pretty amazing. So it makes me proud to be in Fort Worth, to be an American, it's just really cool. So thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Adrian Smith is our next speaker, followed by Saida Said.
Adrian Smith, I am one with the people. Fort Worth Mayor Mattie Parker says Fort Worth ISD lacks leadership and must change. Wayne Carter, NBC5, DFW, August 27, 2024. This, people, is the typical pot calling the kettle black, and I will not be one to be silent regarding it. Mayor Mattie Parker, there has not been any urgency from yourself or city leadership as it relates to the current crises that's been ongoing within the Fort Worth ISD. Up until August the 20th, 2024 public comment meeting, when the collective will and voices of Fort Worth Families Forward, Parents Shield Fort Worth, and individuals from various communities within our city came to these council chambers, did you have an awakening? One's political aspirations should not be at the forefront of this matter when there's so much greater at stake for those to whose plight you truly have no connection with. Although you've been mayor for only 2 years, you served as former Mayor Bessie Price, Chief of Staff 5 years. So this would make you 7 years aware of the crises previously mentioned. Now all of a sudden, individuals are supposed to take you seriously. The laughter. Now let's talk about leadership. Since you said, what was the quote? Fort Worth Mayor Mattie Parker says Fort Worth ISD lacks leadership. Let's talk about leadership. City Council work session, February 20, 2024. After giving her presentation, speaking about Dr. Angela Ramsey of the Fort Worth ISD, the superintendent, after giving her presentation, this council in typical form gave her more praise than questions regarding the validity for the information she presented them. This spoke to the big disconnect that exists between our city and school district. District 2 Councilman Carlos Flores was the only one to ask the direct questions of concern for what had been presented. And that began at the 1 hour, 18-minute mark through the 1 hour and 43 and 32nd minute mark of that particular meeting. So we're talking about leadership, all right? Dr. Ramsey was at the work session. You all failed miserably during that time. Now all of a sudden you want to use this moment to put yourself in a space of being a victor or the champion for everything ISD or school or illiteracy. No. Down, Mayor. So anyway, let's talk about another leadership aspect. What about the $9.6 million wrongful termination settlement?
You're out of time, Adrian.
I heard the time, I don't see my time.
Bless your heart.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So kind, Jeanette.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. Saida Saeed, followed by Gerald Banks Sr.
It will start now, or?
Yes, please.
Okay. I don't see the time. It says timer only.
You're good. Well, I'll let you know. You have 2 minutes, 55 seconds. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Sayeda Sayed, and I'm the former resident of City of Fort Worth. I used to live in zip code 76137. I'm, by profession, as a mechanical engineer. I was an ARB board, and ARB stands for Appraisal Review Board in Tarrant County. This time I'm running for TAD board, and I would like to say, what is the main job of TAD board? Not just hire and fire chief appraiser, but to certify the tax roll by July 25th. There's a new job responsibility because of the legislature change, is the appointment of appraisal review board members with at least 2 votes from elected board members. And previously it was done by administrative judge. And last but not the least is to follow Texas property tax code. Well, City of Fort Worth has the more stake on the TAD board, and they have 623 votes, which is 12.47% of total votes. And all votes are based on valuation, not on population. So historically, Fort Worth always voted for that. But this time, I'm encouraging all taxing entities, how big or how small you are, please vote, and do not put all the eggs in one basket. Give at least 1 vote to each candidate on the ballot. If you disagree with the candidate, If you do not like the candidate, give at least one vote, so you will have the right to recall that board member when they do not follow Texas property tax code. Thank you for your time and consideration. Nothing offensive to Mr. Blaylock, but hope to have more votes, more than one votes from City of Fort Worth. Thank you for your time and attention, and I'm still not seeing the time here. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Gerald Banks Sr. It's Councilmember Larsdorf, Councilmember Martinez, and Councilmember Beck. Why are they not on the screens out here? They're on the screens up front, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Thank you. It takes me to get up here. All right, let me know when my time starts.
Starts now.
Starts right now.
Okay. While leading the charge against illiteracy, which is good, why don't y'all stand up and speak out against voter oppression and police corruption across the city? Bad cops. I know homeboy talking about the good cops and all that, and I praise the good cops and law enforcement as well, as long as they're doing the right thing. But William Martin, I've been speaking 8 years pertaining to this individual. William Martin is one of the cops that should have been fired back in 2013 when I was wrongfully arrested by myself, Gerald Banks Sr. And in 2016, when he wrongfully mistreated Ms. Jacqueline Craig and her family members. I said it back then that the dirty cop, William Martin, is going to keep on until his dirty ass is going to kill someone. Here we are today, 2024, and sure enough, William Martin is in a hot pursuit, firing his weapon, trying to kill someone with no regards to others among his surroundings in that area. There is no reason why Martin should continue to work for the Fort Worth Police Department. He is a menace to our society. Fire Martin now. Charge him with reckless endangerment and/or attempted murder. Martin clearly violated an established constitutional right, and qualified immunity should not be waived in his case. For this deranged cop. Step up, Mayor and Council, say no more. How much time I got left?
13 seconds, Gerald.
I know y'all remember Tatiana Jefferson and the situation with that. William Martin, that's another. Y'all believe in premonitions, right?
Thank you, Mr. Banks.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bob Williams, followed by Daniel Bennett. Is Mr. Williams here? Hi there.
Hand out one page.
You can go ahead. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. My name is Bob Williams. I was here August 20th for the council meeting then. I brought an article, council members and mayor should have a copy of it. I'll read portions of it. The title is 18 Neighborhoods to Get Solar Street Lighting. It's much less expensive than the traditional wires, copper, that the thieves, they see it coming in, they steal it. So this article is about solar street lighting. And the colleagues at the city decided to give solar lighting with its wireless installation and less frequent maintenance schedule a shot. We've done several locations on a small scale, case-by-case basis, just to see how they're looked at and what the folks had to say about them. We've had really, really great things said about it and a lot of interest. Now the pilot program is turning into a permanent solution using a portion of $12 million in federal COVID-19 funds. City crews are preparing to install more than 3,400 solar lights in 18 neighborhoods across the city of Fort Worth. I have a subdivision, an addition to the city of Fort Worth called Melody Oaks, southeast Fort Worth, just outside 820 and Stop 6. I've circled 3 Stop 6 neighborhoods that are scheduled to get solar lighting. I would plead tonight to add Melody Oaks subdivision. There is no street lighting in the area. Forget the neighborhood, forget the subdivision, in the area. There is a block of houses built in the 60s. They're just beyond where my builders are trying to build homes, affordable homes. Doing regular street lighting is just cost prohibitive. It makes affordable housing unaffordable. It's driven off my builder, my primary builder from Dallas, back to Dallas. He said he could have built 10 or 12 townhomes, which we're replatting and making available to affordable homes for city employees, nurses, teachers, police, fire, etc. And he said he could have built 10 to 12. That's 3 to 4 million in that time frame. Let's increase the tax base, keep this affordable, bring solar lighting.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Our next speaker is Daniel Bennett, followed by Brooke Lagon.
Daniel Bennett, Dwight Settlement, Mayor Parker, and Council. I want to give you a history lesson. In 2024, TAD went live with a software that didn't work. Mr. Bobbitt, our current chief appraiser, said it costs $1.5 million a year just to maintain it. I can add $1.2 million without even thinking. So it's really $1.6 million. In 2016, there was a letter sent out by a lady named Donna Perlich to all her 35 global staff members, works a counter, helps the public, basically told them that the report to the tax office was fraught with errors. Do not tell them not to pay their tax bills. And she said what happens at TAD stays at TAD. It's a public document. Date on this is May 20, 2016. I made that public. Mr. Law rolled values in 2014 to 2015. Every school district failed their value study test. Cost millions of dollars. The one currently is going to cost Fort Worth ISD $45 million. In 2016, 4 whistleblowers went to the district attorney's office, gave 2 days of deposition, 16 hours. The DA did nothing. A felony was committed in July of 2018, was non-reported by the chief appraiser to the proper authorities. The Fort Worth had to come in on July 25th to clean up. The problem was your appointment, Ms. Parker, and Mr. Pothoff. All these things occurred under him. I had to defeat him in 2019 with Mr. Lasada. We defeated him. I tried to defeat him in 2017. He's your appointee. In 2021, I sued TAD and 11 taxi units for violation of the property tax code. Had a per se hearing. In 2022, me and Ms. Parker and I met in the parking lot over Como. In 2021, prior to that, I was called by the city secretary not to come down here and speak about TAD. It was inappropriate communication, and Mr. Cook still owes me an explanation from June of 2021. In 2021, TAD was hacked. Law did not tell a soul, but we were hacked. 2023, The chief appraiser resigns, and there was, in 2022, I left this out, potential official oppression was alleged, and it cost us thousands of dollars to get a review from an attorney. It cost $25,000, handpicked by Mr. Law. He found none. In 2023, the chief appraiser resigned with 2 days' notice. The board went on an executive search for a new chief appraiser instead of shoring up the system when we got ransomed. And Ms. Parker, you told me you were happy about what was going on at TAD, and I think you needed a history lesson. Thank you.
Time expired. Brooke Lagon, followed by Abiola Agoro.
My name is Brooke. I'm a resident of Fort Worth District 11, and I'm here today to talk about East First Street bike lane. TPW took away 2 lanes of traffic for this bike lane on East First Street, and I believe this is a mistake. Instead of right-sizing the street, I think they wrong-sized it, and I'll tell you why. Because the Kimley Horn traffic analysis that was done in the height of the pandemic did not accurately reflect the amount of traffic on that street now. They admitted and made some concessions for that by going back to historical data, I think 2018, even maybe further, to try and pad the numbers to make it seem somewhat more normal. But they admit in the analysis that their numbers were conservative. And I think if they did that same traffic analysis today, I think that this street would not qualify for the threshold of putting a bike lane on it. This is a very, very dangerous street. Lots of heavy traffic, big trucks, buses. You know, it's a very dangerous street. And there's a lot of expansion going on here. There's a 343,000 square foot refrigerated facility being built right now on East First Street, right near the Gateway Park entrance, north entrance. There's another 130 acres available for sale right next door to that property, and probably will be an industrial development like that. Conservatively speaking, probably 30 to 40 trucks a day going into that refrigerated facility, maybe 300 employees. Lots more traffic is what I'm trying to say. There's also a lot of development down near Galvez, near downtown. They're putting in all kinds of condominiums, beautiful condominiums, great residential development, more traffic, more traffic on the street. So I was told at the budget meeting on Saturday that possibly there had been an administrative or an executive administrative decision to prevent TPW from taking away lanes of traffic without city council approval. I haven't been able to verify if that's actually the case. If there's actually, there's nothing in writing apparently, but I don't know if that's actually been done. But I just want to suggest that in the future, that the city council have some kind of say on taking away lanes of traffic. Not that TPW cannot arbitrarily come in and do this. I mean, they're good people, I'm not putting them down, and I know there's a lot of emphasis on bike safety right now, but the tragic death of, I believe, I can't remember his name, Henson, on Saturday, just shows us how dangerous it is for bikes to be on streets. I don't care if there's a bike path or not, it's dangerous. And we can do better. We can put them on residential side streets that are not as busy. I would never ride on this bike path. I don't care how many medians, protected corners, bike lights there are. I would never ride a bike, my bike, and I have 2 of them, on East First Street on this bike lane. It's too dang dangerous. So I just want to put this out there. If y'all could talk about it, maybe there's something the city council can do to have some kind of control over this before they go downsizing our streets. We need every inch of asphalt that we have on that street for future development, and putting bikes on the street is not a good idea.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Abiola Agoro, followed by David Martinez.
Hello, City Council. My name is Abiola Agoro, and I'm the Executive Director of a nonprofit called Disturbing Inequity. There is an account on Instagram called Winnie the Cattle Dog, and it makes me laugh so much because Winnie, as we all know, should be good at herding cattle, but she's very bad at it. And her owner actually ended up keeping her, but getting another cattle dog so that way the cattle would end up being protected. Now, we're Cowtown, so I don't have to tell anybody here the importance of a cattle dog. Poor baby girl is terrified of them. Every time she sees them, she takes off in the other direction and is not helpful at all to her job. But if cattle manage to get out and cause damage to a person, much less somebody else's property, there would be a legal liability to the owner of Winnie to make sure that it didn't happen and to provide recompense for that happening. Now, the Ministers in Justice Coalition met this past week, and one thing that has been so consistently important coming out of all of our meetings is that accountability is lacking. Officer Martin has consistently engaged in inappropriate behaviors, and behaviors that, let's be quite honest, say that he's not in the right field. We from this state proudly live in a mindset of freedom and accountability. We have brilliant military members, brilliant police officers. We have people that make our state what it is. But one thing that we seem to be lacking, especially across Fort Worth, is implementation of that accountability to actually uphold that legacy. It's deteriorating every single day that we do not push forward for this. And one request that we do have out of that coalition is for the termination of Officer William Martin. Additionally, people still don't know what happened with that shooting. It is not normal for an officer, much less to engage in this kind of thing out of uniform, again, putting a stain on this work, but to then on top of that, not have any requirement to release that information. And that is a crisis. That's like us keeping a cattle dog that can't herd cattle. And I don't know about y'all, but if I cared, if I wanted to make sure that I not only was fulfilling my obligation as a person, but much less as a big entity in one of the biggest cities in the entire country, top 10 fastest growing, I would make sure that we accommodate that. So I hope that we continue to see some level of moving forward on this conversation. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is David Martinez. Is David still here, or did he leave? Maybe gone, okay. Is David here? No. Yeah, let's wait on him. No? He's not here, okay. Council, that's the conclusion of our speakers this evening. I don't have a speaker, Tina, thank you. Meeting is concluded. No, I have to, it's.